This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today is Wednesday, February 27th. We only have 2 days left of trading in February, and then on Friday, it is the first already. Things have really just been flying by. Coming into this morning so far, as always, everything that we're going to be talking about is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So Weight Watchers, almost 2.5 million shares already, closed 29.57. We could see it's taken a very, very, very big hit. And I was just saying in the chat room, I've been seeing a ton of commercial. And it's just something that you could notice, especially when you see a stock doing bad, is, when we have new commercials coming out, it almost looks like they're trying to rebrand themselves. But obviously not really working too well. I mean, Oprah can only have so much effect on your company before people start to kind of look into it a little bit more. But the thing about it is that if we come over here at that 19 level, I mean, it's crazy, because if you look right around 818, there's just a huge amount of selling that came in underneath the level. And then if we look at 19, it still does have a whole bunch of covering, not only at 19, but below the level. So it's a little bit mixed. But the thing is that I'm not worried, as always. I'm not as much worried about the covering, especially when you have a stock that drops from pretty much almost 30 down to these 1850 levels. So we know we're going to see a large amount of covering. That's just common sense. So it's the new selling that's really going to tell us that this thing is just going to continue on its tank, and we're getting it. I mean, like I said, if we come back over to 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock-ish, that is a huge amount of new selling that came into this stock. So keep that in mind. The covering, it isn't as important as that new selling is. All right, next one, TNDM. So TNDM is not the best looking trade coming into this morning. It is very, very ugly. But one thing that we do notice about it is if we closed at 49.41 and we jumped up a huge amount. So we usually trade about $2.44. I'm expecting a lot more trading going on. And it typically doesn't trade anything during the pre-market. So obviously had earnings, and there's, a bunch going on there. So if we come back over here, the one thing I really do love about it is look at all the new buying as the stock has been coming back up. So you have 57, you have 57.50 that came in over here. 58, you had another print come in. So there really is some nice new buying that's coming in, even as this stock is already made a huge amount. So once again, we're going to see profit taking. But if we look at the actual bigger prints, there's really not much profit taking at all. I mean, there's just really, don't get me wrong, the orders are extremely, extremely thin. But at the same time, like I said, we're still getting that buying. So we're going to be looking for a little bit more of a pull down, because it really didn't get it from our earlier prints that came back in. And essentially 57.50. So we're going to be looking for it to kind of come down to about 57, profit taking on the open, before we would end up seeing this go back up. Remember, 60 is going to be a psychological level as well, though. So it's going to be rough to break that one, and we're going to probably see a bunch of games. But overall, not a great show of hand, not as many prints as we like to see yet, but certainly doing a lot more than it would typically be doing. Next one, BBY. So BBY is another one where it's got some nice buying that came in underneath it, and it looks like now we're getting some selling at that 67 level. But earlier, when we come over here and look at that actual 67 level, I mean, we got some decent buying coming into this morning. One thing, look at 8 o'clock, you have a ton of prints that came in above that ask. So overall, you're talking about, we're certainly going to be expecting this thing to make a big move and have a larger range based off the amount of prints we saw coming in. Already 1 million shares being traded with that big jump up. And it's really, once again, it's just going to be about that new buying that's coming in, because it's up there. So 67, some nice prints in there that we're kind of pulling back from right now. And you can see you have some riders that are coming in, as well as some people that are actually still building that position. So it's very mixed, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit of new buying. I'm going to want to see a better show of hand in this thing, though. With 1 million shares, we're just not really getting too much out there. Next, SRPT. So SRPT is another one where this is a little, I want to say reach, but it's not really a reach based off the prints. It's a reach based off the fact that it is just an ugly, ugly looking stock right now. But if you look, it trades $6.24. And if we look at actually almost all of the bigger prints from this morning, look at the selling we got. I mean, I know we started all the way up here, 152, but then 141, then 140, then back to 141, then 144, 145. So there's a lot of selling that came into this stock. And if we look at what it actually jumped up on, I don't know what it was, but it's nothing. I mean, look at the overall volume itself. It's absolute garbage. So the entire move up with this much selling in it, I don't believe in whatsoever. This thing can keep popping back up, and there's really not enough new buying to show us that this thing should be pulling up and making this big of a move and to have this big of a range. So Keep that in mind, mostly selling. I'm going to be looking for this thing to come back down towards, come back to reality once we come into the morning. And then Gevo I have on my side list. It's just something that I want to keep an eye on, and it's on the side list, and it would be like on the bottom of the side list if I had another side list stock. But the reason being is because when we came up, if we look at the volume as we got towards that 4 level, it's actually pretty good. It didn't hit 4, which I really don't like. But the volume was pretty decent, and then it stayed pretty consistent, and it's holding this print line. So essentially what it's trying to do is hold this original trigger, the print line. If it breaks the print line, I'm probably not even going to look at it ever again for the rest of the day. But I just want to keep an eye on it because as long as we hold that, we know it's got up to 4 before. So that's a large move. You're talking about an 80-cent move back towards that upside if we can get that trigger to come back towards the prints that we saw underneath that 4 level. So not the best looking trade, but it has a little bit of potential, and that's all we need to, to pay attention to something for the least part. So let's take a look at our scanners. There was not much going on out there. We got some good volume, just not really anything that's that really stands out within the trading. So VZM, we have 2.3 million shares, but it looks like a buyout. Absolutely nothing we're going to be able to do with that. We know about BBR, CHK, 4.6 million, but it's just too quantity. That's not really a trade that we're going to be looking for the day. DNR, absolutely nothing. UWT ETF, and then NIO. I mean, I need to talk about NIO. We should all know our stories here. We have a ton of buying that's in this thing. Now it's starting to push up a little bit. But at the same time, I was expecting, because of the amount of times that we saw come back down and hit that 10 level, I was expecting a little bit, well, I still am. It's not that I was. I'm still going to be expecting to see a little bit more of a down move within it before we really get that release and that explosion up. I know that they do have earnings next week, so it would be, most likely, the most likely game plan for them would be to be building a position until it comes into there to use that as a catalyst. So obviously NIO, I'm not going to put it on our list, but something that you certainly should not be looking away from, especially if you're a little bit of a longer term trader or swing trader and you're not day trading these stocks. That's certainly a stock that shows us a lot of longer term potential coming into it. WATT 346,000. Now this one's not bad, but you would have to look at and make sure that you're able to get shares. We had a little bit of selling that came in underneath that 7 level. There's not really anything that's too spectacular. Early, it had a little bit of buying coming in, just not enough for us to really go on anything with. You might want to keep an eye on it, but there's just going to be better stuff for us to be paying attention to. DF, absolutely not. KPTI, absolutely not. For some reason, TradeStation froze, and I pretty much think that's it. MYL is just all over the place, no real consistent trading going on in it. And then NYMT 1.8, but doing absolutely nothing. SQ, I know, has earnings today, so that should be kind of interesting. Watching, that we should get some pretty decent volume coming in there, some positions being built. Remember what we talked about yesterday with Apple. Apple, based off of all those prints at 175, $2.50 would probably make the most sense. We can see it's down just a little bit, not really anything too much. And the only thing that really is giving us anything this morning is that you had 113,000 share print line come in, but there's nothing there yet. And pretty much across the board on our everyday stocks, just nothing going on whatsoever yet. So we're going to need to wait for the market to open. And the word of the day, which is pretty much the word of every single morning, is going to be patience. We're going to get one of those 90% trades, 85% trades, 80% trades. There's no reason to rush anything. As of right now, there's not one thing out there that I am 100% definitive in I would load up on shares in. All right, it's a little bit too mixed out there. We don't really have that, 90% this is what's going to happen yet. So we're just going to wait for it. And when it comes out, we're going to make sure that we utilize it. A lot of events going on today as well. Well, I know we have at 10 o'clock, we have, what's his name? Which is a big one. I know with a Trump meeting, but what's it called? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. How am I drawing a blank right now? Cohen. There we go. Cohen. We have at I think 10 o'clock. I know that's a big one, and most people's eyes are going to be glued on that. So just keep it in mind. But once again, we're going to get trades. Okay, it's just a matter of having the patience to wait for the right trade, the high percentage trade. Just because there's movement doesn't mean we need to trade it. All right, guys. So I'm going to hop back into the chat, and I will talk to everyone in there. Happy trading.